Dollar, dollar, dollar. Dirt and money, no soul. Had to go and get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar, 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 dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.
Yo, what's good, original crew, man? We're back. We have y'all favorite guy. Well, some of y'all, y'all be alright. Hey, to each his own. We got Mr. Ballen back on the channel yet again. We have the Angola effect, horrifying death traps, and the cradle of evolution. That's a little deep for the title. A little deep for the intro, huh? Hey, man. So with that being said, before we get into it today, make sure you check out the links in the description box
down below.
You already know where to go if you want the first part. All you have to do is check out down below. Also, if you enjoyed today's visuals,
lock it in with a thumbs up.
We're highly appreciated. But hey, man, with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into it today. Let's check it out. Let's see what Mr. Ballen's about today. You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Today's story is about a guy named John who just wanted to go surfing, and he would get a chance to do that. However, when he was finally out on the water, something super rare and super horrible happened to him that actually kicked off a series of more rare and terrible things that all happened to John. I mean, this whole story is so outrageous that it just sounds totally made up. But I can promise you, it's not. But before we get into that story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please offer to make the like button a friendship bracelet using those little beads with letters on them, but make sure you spell on their bracelet, "Nobody likes you," before you hand it over. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story. On an April morning in 1993, a surfer named John Doyle was sitting on a surfboard out in the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of West Africa, just scanning the water waiting for a wave. John was totally alone out here. There were no other surfers, nothing, and the only sign of human civilization anywhere was John's Land Rover, which was parked up on the sand on the beach. John was an American. He was from Colorado, and so his experience had always been, lots of snow and mountains and trees, because that's Colorado. But now here, off the coast of Africa, it was like a totally different planet. And in fact, today, John was really feeling that because the sun was so hot that day. It was over 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and he could actually feel his back starting to burn as he sat there, waiting for the next wave. And so he told himself, actually, that he would just catch one more wave and then call it a day to avoid a sunburn. But as John continued to kind of scan out across the water waiting for this wave, he noticed about 20 meters away was a shark fin swimming in a circle, like stereotypical terrifying shark behavior. And so John is horrified and he wants to get out of the water immediately, but he's far enough away from shore that if he jumped into the water to swim to shore, he's going to be in the water with the shark thrashing around. He's just going to attract the shark over to him. And so John decides his only hope here to escape the shark is actually just to surf in. That way he'll stay out of the water. It's much faster. He'll get to shore. The shark can't follow him there. It'll be fine. And so, trying to stay calm, John continued to keep his eye on the shark that was still 20 meters away, and he also really looked closely for any swell coming towards him that might be big enough to allow him to surf to shore. And thankfully, after only a couple of minutes, John did see a swell coming towards him that seemed like it would be perfect for a final wave. And so at this point, John is facing out to sea towards the swell, towards the shark that's still 20 meters away, and he turns himself around, so he's facing towards shore, and then he lays down on his stomach and he begins to paddle towards shore. And as he's doing this, he's checking the swell to see when it's going to come up, when he can stand up, and eventually the swell is right underneath him, and as he's about to stand up on his board and actually surf into shore, he looks into the water that has not quite formed into a wave yet, and he sees the shark. It's literally underneath him. And so John has this sudden surge of adrenaline, and he just jumps up onto his board. He stands up, and for a second, he's stable. He's surfing, and he's riding this wave away from the shark. He's doing exactly what he hoped he could do. He can't believe it. And then, because he was panicked, because he was rushing, because it was a new board, who knows why, the nose of his board suddenly dipped just long enough to throw John off his board and into the water with the shark.
That's why I say my tail up out of the water. I'm finna say something else. I'm finna say some we say say my black ass. I'm finna say, hey, man, you from Colorado with the snow? What you doing out here in hot Africa in the water?
He said he living his best life.
I know he living my best life.
He living his life.
Hey, forget that, man. Sometimes it's better safe than sorry, though. Am I lying?
I mean, yeah, I guess if you think of it like that, but
what?
Can't live in fear.
So, how about you go out there and surf?
I'm not surfing. I'm not a surfer.
I'm saying live your life.
But I'm not a surfer. That ain't something I want to do.
You go to Colorado on snowboard.
I know, I'll do that.
You want to go to Colorado, but not to surf.
I do.
But not to surf.
Yes,
not to
snowboard. Snowboard.
Like
yeah.
how they surfing out there in Colorado.
I do.
But
I've always wanted to do that.
You wouldn't. You know what? You and your sister should take a trip to Colorado. That'd be nice.
Please press by.
To throw John off his board and into the water with the shark. And so immediately, as this wave is churning John over, he grabs onto his surfboard and just kind of holds on, and he's waiting for a moment when the wave stops so he can get out of the water, back on his board, and away from the shark. But before the wave even stopped tumbling him over, John suddenly felt the searing pain in his calf. And so John, who's underwater, still clutching his board, he opens his eyes underwater, then he looks down, and through the cloudy water, he can see very clearly it is the shark, and it's a great white shark that is latched on to his leg. And so now, in a...
Did you just say
I was learning about sharks earlier today.
Baby shark, look at that.
I was learning about sharks today.
You learned about the great white shark?
We talked about the great. Well, no, we talked, but I learned about the great. The white shark, a bull shark, and a tiger shark. Yeah.
So is the great white very dangerous?
Yeah, that was the top three. Well, it was top three dangerous and I guess largest. She said.
It's a great white shark that is latched on to his leg. And so now, in a total panic, John began punching the nose of the shark. And when he did, the shark actually recoiled and released his leg long enough that John could pull it out. He actually managed to get up onto his board again. And just a second later, almost out of instinct, he was back standing on his board, just surfing along with a leg that was now bleeding profusely into the water. And for a second, John was stable and appeared to be kind of moving towards shore again, but then the shark, it doubled around and swam at John from the side and literally smashed into him, knocking him off the board back into the water. But this time, John managed, when he fell this second time, to actually grab on to the board with both hands. So he has two hands on the board, he's getting tumbled in the water again, but he knows the shark is going to come for him. And so at the last second, he pulled the board close to his body and kind of turned himself like it's a shield. And the shark came flying towards him and bit him. But because he used that surfboard as a shield, the shark just bit the surfboard, ripped off half of it, and swam off with it and began mauling this half of the surfboard. And John, with the other half of the surfboard, he somehow managed to stand up on it. Again, his leg is bleeding everywhere, and he rode this damaged half surfboard into shore successfully away from the shark. And so when John pulled himself up onto the sand, out of the water, he looked back and he saw the shark swimming off. And even though he's in excruciating pain from this attack, he was so relieved. He couldn't believe he actually just survived that. But John did not have time to think about, what good fortune this was in a way, because he was an hour away from the nearest civilization. And between where he was now and that town, there was nothing. There weren't homes, there weren't buildings, there weren't offices, nothing. It was just totally wildlands until you got to that town. And so John knew he would need to get in his car and drive all the way to that town and then get the people of the town to go get medical help. So, I mean, he is hours away from getting the help he needs. And so he has no time to waste. And so he crawls through the sand. You know, his leg is killing him, but he's just so focused on getting up to his Land Rover. And he manages to get to his car. He opens the door. He climbs in the driver's seat. And then as soon as he's in there, you know, he shuts and locks the doors. And then he grabs a white t-shirt that he had on the passenger seat and he ripped it into strips. And he used those strips like tourniquets and he wrapped them around his leg, the leg that was bleeding from his calf. And he basically used this tourniquet to attempt to cut off blood flow to his entire right leg to stop the bleeding, to save his life. But the wound on his right leg was so bad and so deep that despite putting on multiple very tight tourniquets, it just wasn't doing very much. He was still losing blood at a pace that likely would kill him before he got to town. And so John was kind of like, well, nothing else I can do but attempt to go to town. So he fired up his car, he reversed off the beach, and began making his way towards town. As John sped along the road, he began to feel very lightheaded, you know, between the pain in his leg and the extreme heat outside. He just felt very dehydrated and weak. And so he thought to himself, if I can't get a sip of water soon, I'm going to pass out right now and then I'm done for. And so as he's driving along, John began fumbling around his car, you know, looking for any sort of liquid somewhere in the car. But ultimately, all he found was an empty water bottle. And all he saw in every direction was just this barren African savanna with no people and no water anywhere. And so John just kept on driving.
I was finna say, what are you finna do? Pee in the bottle and drink
I would
it?
have.
You would have?
Survival. Man, I'm trying to survive out here.
Pissy mouth.
At least I'm alive.
Nah, that's crazy though, man. Cause I thought, like, I was in my head, I'm like, all right, John finna realize when he looked down, he's gonna realize his leg ain't there.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I also learned why, like, most of, like, shark, you know, bites or attacks, like, happen. Sometimes it's normally because they sense something and or object and it's out of the norm, so they're just trying to see what it is in a sense. And so
they're
that's
not
why
really trying to attack you.
Yeah, it's just
They're
kind of
trying to
more
be
so
nosy.
like, yeah, like, this is something new. What's this, like, near me? And so they try to, like, get a bite out of it to see if it's like another, you know, like, just to see what it is.
Yeah, like, if
or
it's
what
like, is it food?
Yeah, just
Is it
to
an
see.
object?
That's why when he got the board, he just wanted to, he was like, okay, I got something. And he went away.
And he wasn't gonna stop.
Yeah.
So I wonder, do they really smell blood?
I said we. Y'all, I didn't talk to anyone. I was learning this on my own, by the way. But I don't know why I keep saying we learned.
Yeah.
But anyway, I learned that not necessarily with the little blood, not that they don't smell it, but it's not, I guess it's the little thing like, oh, they sense a little drop of blood and that's why they like
attack.
Yeah, but not necessarily. I cut it off at that point.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to get back into it and really like see.
Learn.
Yeah, learn.
I got you.
Hoping eventually he might find some water source. And luckily, after only a couple of minutes, when his eyelids were really starting to droop and he was having a hard time focusing, he noticed up ahead there was a copse of trees with a little creek that ran through it. And so immediately John pulled over and he got out and he hobbled his way over to the water. He laid down on his stomach, so his face is basically right over the water. And then he just put his face in the water and began to drink. And as he did, he felt his heart rate start to slow down. He felt himself relax a little bit. And he started to think to himself, like, hey, you know, I found water. You know, I'm doing okay. Maybe I will survive this. But right as John was starting to feel optimistic, he felt a new shooting pain on his right side. And so with a little bit of strength he had, he managed...
Girl, why you keep tapping on me?
I was like, don't tell me he done got bit by a snake or something.
Or
something else.
Yeah.
It's any other type of...
Or is this actually a bite from a shark?
Or yeah, he had feel because the
I don't know.
New shooting pain on his right side. And so with a little bit of strength he had, he managed to turn his head and looked to see what was going on. And staring back at him was a lion who had just hit him.
That's
a lion? Oh my gosh. I said a little snake.
That's
not a little snake, but
I was
a snake.
finna say that, but a lot of times I stay reaching.
Yeah.
I stay reaching, but I was
But
finna
you
say,
seen the lion? Oh my
I was finna
goodness.
say he got bit by a lion.
What made you think that?
It's in Africa.
I know, but I'm just
They
like
free roam.
But I know, but I'm like,
And
wouldn't I
it's
have
water.
heard it like come up or something? Like you sneaking up on me like that?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but
I don't know.
It's Africa.
Yeah.
They free roam.
I guess I didn't want to think like something big because I was like, maybe you would have heard it. But that's crazy.
That one probably smelled the.
Now he sent something for real.
On and staring back at him was a lion who had just bit his side and was now growling and staring at John and beginning to move its jaw left and right to really sink its teeth into John. Now, this is unbelievably painful for John, and he's already dealing with an unbelievable pain in his leg from a shark attack. And so John's experiencing pain that very few people ever get to experience. And it caused this unbelievable surge of adrenaline, one that you would likely get basically right before you die. That was the level of adrenaline he was getting. And with this adrenaline rush, he grabbed a stick and he began hitting this lion who's locked onto his ribs. And he managed to beat the lion off of him. And the lion, it only backed up maybe a few feet. And it's still totally fixated on John. And it's growling and edging towards him. Yeah. But John, all he could do was just attempt to get to his Land Rover. And so as soon as the lion had let go of him, he just stood up and kind of pathetically began hobbling as fast as he could towards his Land Rover. And he literally just walked past this lion who's still growling at him, kind of trying to size him up. And he just kept on walking towards his car, and he was almost there when he noticed the sound of the lion growling behind him, which had been constant to this point, had suddenly intensified to the point where John couldn't even help himself. He had to turn around and see what was going on. And when he turned around, he saw now there was not just one lion, but an entire pride of lions. There was at least 4 lions that now had all formed a semicircle and were staring at John and moving towards him to eat him. But John really couldn't do anything about this. All he could do was just hopefully get to his Land Rover in time. And so John just turned back around, so his back is to the pride of lions a few feet away from him, and he just continues hobbling towards his car. And as he walked, the lions began swiping at him and cutting his legs open and his arms open. Jeez. I mean, they're like razor blades just being taken to the backside of him, but they didn't launch a full-bore attack on him. It was like they were just kind of testing him. And then right when the lions were basically about to actually pull John to the ground and eat him, was when John got to the door, opened it up, jumped inside, shut it, and locked it. Wow. However, when John went to grab his keys and start the car, he realized he didn't have the keys. And when he turned and looked outside, he saw the pride of lions and his car keys on the ground. He was doomed. He knew there was no way he could get those keys without getting killed in the process. And so John basically just resigned himself to die in his car right here. Like he knew, I'm going to die in the next few hours. There's nothing I can do. And so he just kind of sat there and waited. And 30 minutes later, John heard a very loud, almost explosion sound coming from somewhere outside of the vehicle. And then he heard it a few more times, and before long, the lions were so startled by it that they ran away. And then he hears what sounds like a series of shutter flashes, like camera flashes. And, he's looking around. He can't quite figure out what's...
No, I'm sorry. I was just...
See, what?
Nothing.
I'm only pausing because you keep tapping. You know what this reminds me of?
I'm like, maybe, the people that be out there like...
Yeah, but you know what this reminds me of?
Yeah.
It's the, what's the movie with Idris?
Oh, yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that, like that situation. What is it, Beast? Something like that. Did I watch that with you?
Yeah, we watched it together.
Okay.
Series of shutter flashes, like camera flashes. And, he's looking around. He can't quite figure out what's even going on because, again, he has all these injuries. He's lost so much blood. And then eventually, John just kind of passes out, having no idea what had just happened. Wow. It would turn out there was actually a safari that was happening in the area where John was at the same time. And the safari guide, as they drove past this area, happened to spot John inside of his Land Rover surrounded by lions. And so as all the people in the tour began furiously taking photos of this crazy scene in front of them, the tour guide began firing his rifle into the sky to scare the lions off. And so those were the noises that John was hearing before he passed out. And then after he passed out, the tour guide and all the people on the tour pulled John out of his Land Rover, because now the lions are gone, and they would take him to a hospital where doctors and nurses would have to give him 250 stitches to stitch up all of his various shark and lion wounds. John would make a full recovery, and he would hang up on his wall in his office the broken half of that surfboard that he did successfully manage to ride in to escape the shark. He says the surfboard reminds him how lucky he was.
Wow.
Damn, hold the hell on.
As promised, here is a...
No. Ballen.
Why?
No.
What you want?
No,
What else you
Ballen.
want?
What I want?
What is it?
I want an image of John. I want to see, what's his name?
Let me see.
John Doyle. Let me Google real quick.
Well, I doubt you.
Let me see. All right, John Doyle surfer. Images. Go to Reddit real quick. I thought Reddit would have had some photos. Man, I gotta see who this individual is, man. This don't make no sense. This sounds like a hoax. You know what I'm saying? If I ain't got a photo proof, nah, man. I don't know, see. I don't know. You believe it?
I mean, it's a crazy
it's
story.
possible.
It's possible.
It's possible because you'll be running off adrenaline the whole time. So every move you make is 100% like just straight survival. Like you literally in survival mode.
Yeah.
But without any photos of the actual thing, if you truly got, there would be photos because you had people in the safari taking photos.
Yeah, true.
You also would have had photos of the board. By now, you would have posted that somewhere.
Something, yeah. Would have had that to show or something.
Yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, it's a good story.
It's a good, exactly what you said. It's a great story, but
I'm glad
real?
he survived. I mean, if it is, a real story.
Facts. That's the biggest thing of it. If it's a true story, I am glad he survived. There's a lot of people, I don't know, you really have to have a will to live.
Facts.
In that type of situation. So if it is a true story, it's nothing but the will to live. But without any evidence, I think we could kind of possibly say hoax. A great story.
It may be real. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we hear about shark attacks and people actually, but I guess it's like the shark attack plus
shark attack on top of a lion attack, which you hardly, bro. You don't hear people surviving a lion attack on top of multiple lions. You with one stick.
Maybe that was just
no. I don't care who you is. You think you're gonna ward off a whole herd? Is it a herd? I don't know. I don't know the
let me see
group
what
of lions are called, but the proper term. But you're not finna ward off all of those lions like that. And
a pride.
That is true. That is a pride of lions. I'm not thinking right now.
Hey.
Who am I? Good story. At the end of the day, great story.
If it is a real story, I am
story.
So happy he survived. I'm so happy that those people was placed there at the right time to save him. Everything was just perfect. That day was just like although it was super
the wave
unfortunate.
Came in at the right time. The surfboard,
just everything,
right time. That's crazy, man.
That is crazy.
The line came in at the wrong time.
The wrong time.
Wrong time.
Wrong time. My keys ended up outside that's a lot going on.
That's too much going on, see.
I mean, but it could be real. You hear about these bizarre stories.
You do.
You know what I'm saying?
You do.
Like, wow, I cannot believe that happened.
Yeah.
It's probably one of those.
I don't know. Y'all spam us up in the comments, man. Let us know y'all if y'all think it's true. Y'all think it's a
Or if
hoax.
you have more information on it.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section down below. Fill us
Please
in
do.
with y'all thoughts, man, as well. But as always, y'all know how it go, man. I do go by the name DJ New Kid. This is
Sierra Nicole.
We are?
Kid and C.
We are, y'all.
Peace.
Get it, ain't no time to kick it. Got a stack and flip for my foes. Dollar, 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 dollar. Please tell me you can hear me. Don't turn your back and don't neglect me. Just let me know if you need me. Dollar, dollar, dollar. Let me watch out for my partners. Keep my money long, get my team strong. Let me run away from my problems.